Welcome to the After Dark Show with Don Rogers.
Welcome everybody to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. My guest this week was supposed to be Dr. Joe Hastings-Bertino. I don't know what's going on. There's been a miscommunication on time or something. So I asked him if he was coming. He said yeah, and didn't come. So I really don't know what's going on, to be completely honest. So I'm going to go. I'm really glad a few weeks ago I did my first ever Sunday solo show, because this would be very freaking nerve-wracking right now to have zero guests and people in the audience and expecting me to show up and have something to say. But thankfully I did my solo show the other day. So we are going to talk about the laws of attraction. Now, I am not an expert on this, and I welcome any comments in the chat, because this is going to kind of be an open forum show. I do have some notes on the subject, and we're going to kick some of this around. I even have some exercises if people are interested in it. We're just going to kind of freestyle this show as I do this presentation. And what I wanted to talk about is actually something that my wife, Canadian Spanja, my interdimensional exit buddy, and we talk about this a lot, is the laws of attraction, the laws of the universe, how these things affect our ability to create within our own reality. And one of the major things of the laws of attraction that a lot of people don't understand, like, you can research it, you can look into it, there's books, Jung is amazing, Carl Jung, and there's multiple researchers on the subject. But what I wanted to really get into here as well is how unhealed emotional trauma can block the law of attraction, and also, how to implement these things into your life. So basically, the laws of attraction operate on the principle that your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs emit vibration, right? Everything in this reality emits a vibration. Like I explained on my first solo show, this actually kind of ties in, is, this is a biomolecular construct in which we live, and everything here has a certain vibration or frequency or a resonance to it, right? And then there's the bigger containment that holds us all in. And if you want to go check out my holographic DNA storage reality show, we can talk about, I talked about that at great length on that one. But when you figure out that this is a biomolecular construct, and that all of this stuff, all of this creation, all of reality really does come into our perspective and our understanding when we get into the laws of attraction, right? Because the more we know about this stuff, the easier it is to traverse this reality. And I actually explained this to a friend of mine at work the other day, because I do not look the part to be able to talk on these subjects, but I do. And I explained the double-slit experiment to him, and loosely, what the observer effect. And he kind of like jokingly said, oh, so if I think of myself in Maui with $25 million, it's going to be that way. And I'm like, well, it doesn't exactly work just like that, and it's not instantaneous, right? But the way I explained it to him is, when you think about the fact, okay, you're having a bad day, you're having a very shitty time, you feel off inside, everybody seems like they're against you, and everything, like the wrench you're trying to use to turn the nut on the project you're working on, or the pencil that you're looking for to draw the picture is gone, and all these little things just frustrate you and upset you and get you really mad. It actually changes. You can feel it. You can feel the way you vibrate inside. There's a difference, right? That is literally your biomolecular self vibrating differently, because you're not at your normal resonance. Now, where this comes into play with the laws of attraction, oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead here. But what I explained to him was, like, if you're pissed off, you're vibrating lower, right? And everything seems very, very difficult. This is the most simplistic definition of this that I can give. But if you're in a state of mind where you're enjoying yourself and you're happy and, things are all going well and you have that warm sensation inside, it always feels like everything just kind of goes your way. And that is literally the way the laws of this reality work, right? So that's what I said to him is like, when you're having a bad day, it's a lower vibration. When you're having that good day, it's a higher vibration. And that vibration really does determine how you pass through this reality, right? So frequencies that attract similar energies and experiences into your life. That's one of the main things of the laws of attractions. But here's where the sticky part is. If you have unhealed emotional trauma, such as childhood abuse, loss, these can act as a powerful barrier at disrupting the process of creation and of attraction to you, right? Trauma isn't just a memory. It's stored in the body, like it works in your nervous system. You have these recall points in your nervous system. And when you get to a point where you're like, oh, this is going to go wrong again. Well, your nervous system and your subconscious work very, very closely together. And when you get that feeling, your subconscious projects that out into your photonic energy, because we all emit light photons, which you can hear me talk about in the biomolecular holographic reality show. But basically, we all project photons. We are light. We are beings of light, right? And these photons that we emit have a frequency, and the frequency that you're emotionally in is largely in part what you're projecting. So, however, if you have, I already did that part. Trauma isn't just a memory. It's stored in the body and the subconscious mind, influencing your energy field, right? Because we all have energy fields, right? Spinja and I have done experiments, and it's on my YouTube, where we were with Karen Holton, who is also an FKN podcaster, and she showed using a code hanger that you can measure the frequency of how far your resonance is. But it really does sabotage your field of energy, right? When you can't get past these emotional traumas, right? So I'll break down step by step, or as close as I can, drawing from psychological insights and examples, just, how all of this comes together and stops us from being able to create almost at will. I know we can't snap our fingers yet and get whatever we want, but there is ways to raise your resonant frequency and make your existence in this reality a little bit easier, right? And there's already something here from Spinja, and I'm going to throw this up here. Boop. For example, when we moved across the country, I lost 20 pounds because I was literally carrying the weight of my trauma. Yes, this is exactly right. And I'm going to side scroll on that because this is a discussion. Kyla used to be much, much larger than she is now. Like, I mean, an entire person larger. And one of the things that we read, we do a lot of our research together and we listen to each other and read with each other, is literally when you're holding on to things. And I am not a doctor. I'm not a dietitian. I'm just explaining what I have read. Okay. So please don't get angry at me for what I'm about to say. A lot of people that have health issues and weight problems are very, very stuck in their trauma because they're literally carrying the weight of the world, the weight of their trauma, the weight of their damage along with them everywhere they go, right? You will. Now, I know your trauma does not have physical weight, but the regret and emotional blockages that you put into your biological system with that trauma can actually cause you to gain weight. And how is that? Well, how that works is because your somatic system, right, the thing that runs everything, works with your subconscious, right? And if you're constantly in survival or trauma mode, your body holds things like calories, like sugars, like weight, because it thinks it's constantly in a need to survive. That's how your nervous system, your psyche, and your somatic system, they all intertwine. This is why people become unhealthy and overweight when they've experienced a lot of trauma. It isn't just the emotional eating. Yes, of course, that's a part of it. But the reason you remain that big is because your body doesn't know that you believe you're better. Because all of this is deeply inlaid in your psyche, in your trauma, in everything, right? You carry this around with you, and Kyla is a perfect example of it. We moved away from a very, very toxic lifestyle, reality, area. Everything about it was very, very heavy, and she has lost a fuck ton of weight since we moved. And I just have to be honest. Like, it has been my observation that this is fundamentally true, that people that have not dealt with their emotional trauma do tend to be physically unhealthy and I'm not saying this is the cause of obesity or being overweight across the board, but a lot of people who are bigger should definitely look into what emotional baggage you are literally carrying around, right? Um, I got so many awesome people. I have Joy Child texted me, so I'm going to read hers first, and then I'm going to read Michelle's. Joy Child, who you guys have seen on the show, bigger people are usually in victim mode, or what is called poor mess syndrome, because of what happened either in their past lives or in their youth. That's absolutely correct. That's what I was alluding to, is like the traumas that you hold on to really do actually weigh you down, right? And you can become incredibly unhealthy because of this. And that's just my own opinion and what I've read. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. So please don't take it that way. And Michelle King, QHHT, under hypnosis, the higher self tells us usually extra weight is a protection our bodies form around us, can be from past lives, which Georgia just said. That is why it is so important to do the inner work. Absolutely. Weight, this is Michelle again. Weight can be from other reasons also. We can only find out by accessing our subconscious mind. You are absolutely right. And Michelle, I need to get your phone number, or we're actually going to be over at Joy Child's tomorrow. So maybe we can do a group call, because I want to talk to you about some hypnosis stuff. And then there's a comment here from my interdimensional exit buddy. 100% my experience, Joy Child. I made a conscious decision to move away from being the victim. And she did. And she's doing a hell of an example, or a hell of a job. So trauma creates subconscious limiting beliefs. Unhealed trauma often embeds deep-seated beliefs like, I am unworthy, the world is unsafe, good things don't happen to me. These act like filters overriding your consciousness, right? Your conscious intentions, sorry, right? Oh, Kyla has your number. Boom, perfect. So this is something I've discussed on the show before. And the easiest way I can explain it is, if you keep saying, my life sucks, your subconscious, your somatic system, the photons you project out of yourself to interact with the biomolecular construct of this reality, is just going to project suck, because you're telling it what you want. You don't know you're telling it what you want because that's why I'm telling you this. Okay. When you're sitting there saying, I'm in a state of suck, this sucks, everything sucks, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Your life is going to suck. That's the way this works. It's what you believe, right? You have to live this reality the way you believe it's supposed to be. If you're watching certain media companies or reading certain crap on the internet, that's what's going to be most prevalent in your reality. Social media is one of the best examples of this. Okay. They use an algorithm to show you exactly what you want, right? That's the way reality works too. If you control the algorithm of the energy that you're projecting out into reality, and you control the energies in which you're projecting it, that's what you will receive back. You're sending a message out, and you will receive a reciprocation, a message back from reality, from the information that you have put forth. So if you put out, this fucking sucks, pardon my language, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. Right? That's the best way I can explain it. Right? And these are things, I'm not talking on this from a point of expertise. I'm talking about this from a point of somebody who is sorting through this themselves, because I have a very, very traumatic childhood, abuse, blah, 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 blah. Not going to get into it because it just makes me sad. And I don't want to be in that vibration when I'm talking to you guys. But it really does affect what you put out. In laws of attraction terms, your vibration is dominated by these low frequency beliefs, attracting more evidence to confirm them rather than your desired outcome. So exactly what I just said. Oh, excuse me. If you're constantly saying this sucks, you're going to pull that back in. And one of the examples that I have here is, if you've experienced abandonment as a child, you might subconsciously believe that people are always going to leave you, right? Even if you visualize a loving relationship, this belief, it's an internal filter. It's something that we have been programmed to feel on a biological and metaphysical level, right? And you're just going to continue to draw in those types of partners. Like if you go with that childhood one, I'm always abandoned. Well, you're probably going to have a lot of boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever partner you so choose. You're going to have a very high rate of turnover. I'm going to use an employment term, but you're going to have a very high rate of turnover because you're going to self-sabotage. You believe you're going to be alone, so you're probably going to make it so that you're alone, right? That's just the way this reality works. This is literally, there's laws of attract, there's laws of the universe, and that's the basis of one of them. So let me pull up something really quick here. Joy Child said, I've been told by some bigger people in my workshops that they are constantly thinking positive thoughts at the same time things are not working out for them. And my reasoning for that is that you can think all the positive that you want. Sorry, I just have to open this up. You can think all the positive thoughts you want, and it just takes one quick moment to think a negative thought to destroy it all. I agree with that to an extent. And why I say to an extent, because it's absolutely right. You can, because everything works in waves. Like, if it's not going to work out, it's not, like, if you get to where you're positive, 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 and something goes wrong and you get shitty. I've done it. I've felt it. You just drop off. It's like it drops off like a Richter scale. You can almost feel yourself getting sucked into that lower vibration again. But really, just let me get back here. This is something that Spinja was actually telling me about, is the universe takes a minute to catch up too. Now, if you're like myself and you had 40 years of this sucks, it takes a minute to undo that kind of wave pattern, right? You can't just stop a ripple in a pond once you've thrown the rock in there, right? It's going to continue to make the waves and the ripples, right? And you just have to kind of ride the disruption until the water settles again. And once the water settles is when you can influence that plane again, right? That's reality. Think about reality as a pond, right? I'll use that as the analogy. The ripples in the water are what we create, and how you create them. If it's something big and heavy, it's going to make a huge disruption in your life. It's going to go shit. But if you're just calmly riding the waves, it's going to be a more enjoyable travel. But when you get negative, you have to try to get yourself back positive, because it really does only take a second, and you're going to shift back into that lower frequency and start projecting suck back into your life. You're absolutely right on that point, Joy Child. Like, don't get me wrong. I just also have been learning myself, and very, very recently, that the things that are going great right now still can be disrupted from your past, or even, as Joy Child and Michelle were talking about, even your past lives can cause disruption. And I'm not really deep into that subject, but I've heard of this theory that, there's past traumas from past existences, and I know all about other conscious existences, but you have to stay in control of your emotional vibration. So it lowers your emotional vibration. Trauma keeps you stuck in survival mode, fear, anger, shame, or grief, which are all low vibrations. Um, The laws of attraction require alignment with high vibrational feelings like joy and gratitude to attract positive things. But trauma triggers, there you go, Joy Child, this gets right into what you're just talking about. Trauma triggers keep pulling you down, creating mismatch between what you want and what you feel. Example: somebody with financial trauma from poverty, like myself, I can speak on this one too from a firsthand experience, right? Might affirm um, from poverty might affirm wealth, but feeling the underlying anxiety about money. This anxiety, low vibration, blocks the abundance, leading to missed opportunities or self-sabotage, like overspending to numb the fear, right? These are all things that I've gone through. I used to say I hate money. And I another one that I said was, I've been broke my entire life, right? Or I've always been broke. Sorry, that was it. That was the phrase that I always used to say. Hey, Woo. Um, I used to always say, I've always been broke. Well, I always was broke. And when I stopped using those particular words of I was always broke or I've always been broke, I stopped being broke. I'm actually in transition again. One of the things I had switched to saying is, I'll just make more, because, life costs money in this reality. So I was just like, I'll just make more. And I haven't had any financial problems since I've adapted that. It wasn't until recently, when Kyle and I were talking, I decided I'm going to change it to more will come and I will welcome it. And that has been working very, very well as well. Just let me pop in on the questions here. Yeah. So basically, trauma fuels resistance and doubt. Um, Resistance in the laws of attraction is an energy that opposes your desires, right? Um, Often manifesting as doubt or cynicism. Unhealed trauma amplifies this by making trust in the universe feel impossible, As past wounds scream, it's not safe to have hope. And these are all things, like I keep saying, the reason I'm talking about this is this is a process that I'm currently going through myself. And I want to share this with everybody because I am having some success with this. And I think it's very, very important that a lot of people become aware that, you know, there's a lot more going on in a metaphysical sense than what we were ever taught through any type of pre-constructed educational system. Like, I don't care if you went to public or private school, it really is, there's a lot that is glossed over and a lot that we're told is hokum or woo woo, and it's not. It's actually how this reality works. Joy Child just sent me another thing that she uses and has taught me about using for an affirmation. I am open to receiving all that is for my highest and purest good. And that is absolutely a great way to draw that in as well. Um, so the example I had for the this isn't safe and you're screaming last wounds after a traumatic job loss, you might doubt your career manifestations, right? Because you're like, oh, I have my dream job, but say it doesn't work out, thinking, what was the point? I'll fail, it'll fail anyway. This doubt creates energetic resistance, delaying or even derailing opportunities like promotion or advancement within your future jobs. Like, when you even have that self-doubt with your employment or your love life or your personal life or your friends, it affects everything that you're involved in, right? This really is the way these things kind of, well, it's not kind of, it really does. Um, and why this happens, because one of the fundamentals to the law of attraction is being able to visualize. Because if you can visualize things, then you can already create them, right? This is something that Doc Ram taught, Richard Allen Miller taught me, is like, everything you can imagine already exists, right? It's just not here yet. But it disrupts your visualization and affirmation effectiveness. Trauma can make visualizations feel fake or triggering, or as the subconscious rejects the positive imagery because it contradicts the stored pain. Affirmations bounce off like water and oil, right? Failing to reprogram because the trauma is actually emotionally in charge, right? And you're absolutely right, Michelle. It is all energy and frequency. I freaking love Tesla. In one sentence, that man said, if you understand frequency, energy, and shit, I forgot the third one. But Tesla summed it up perfectly, that if you understand those three things, you will understand reality. And trauma affects the trauma also attracts repetitive cycles, right? The wounded attractor uh, pattern. Unconsciously, trauma seeks resolution by recreating similar scenarios. And this is where a lot of us get into loops, and you don't see the loop because you're used to the cycle, right? You have to get out of these loops if you want to develop any other different style or progression in your life. You literally have to reprogram your subconscious. And I'm going to squirrel here. I'm going to nerd here. I don't know what you want to say it. When, Michelle, you'll know about this. One of the ways you do hypnosis is getting somebody into theta state. It is a highly suggestible state. It's what you want to be in for meditation, guided meditation, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, any of these things. Well, and I'm not shitting on school because everybody needs some type of understanding. But when we're the ages that we go to school, that is when our bodies and minds are almost constantly in those theta states, right? If you think about the way your emotions changed from the time that you first went to school to the times, if you can remember the times before you had to go to school, you almost lost something. You almost felt something was being pushed on you. And it's because all of the programming in the Rockefeller public school systems and the military industrial complex are training slaves, right? They want dull witted, dim drones. They want human worker bots. They're actually even making humanoid robots now. But we're so inundated with this programming in the public education system, and it's done at such a vulnerable age and a vulnerable state. They've done this intentionally to make Rockefeller a generation, well, multiple generations of worker bees. And that's what we're being turned into. And I didn't do this show to shit on the education system, so please don't take it that way. I'm just telling you that we are put into the educational system at that age because you are very, very susceptible because of the theta and alpha states that you are in during that stage of your life. Writer, positive healing energies to all. Thank you, my friend. And we are programmed until we are 7 to 9 years old. Yes, because kids are in theta hypnotic state, brains are not developed. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Is like you can also reprogram yourself. You can have somebody like Michelle or a different practitioner help you with these things. You can also listen to binaural. I do a lot of binaural neuro editing sleep tracks, right? And if anybody ever wants those, just hit me up on any social media and I will send them to you because they're not mine and I'm not affiliated with the channel at all, but I've also found them very, very handy. Things like meditation, guided meditation, self meditation, hypnosis, self uh, and it goes on, right? There's also self hypnosis, which I'm looking into too. But the whole thing is they they programmed our emotional systems and our nervous systems to react, respond, and create what they want. That's the long and the short of what they did to us in the educational system. They got us to do what they wanted so we would be the people that they needed, right? Because they survive off of our labor. You can change all of this. It's all just up here. You just have to get into a comfortable enough state to meditate and believe what you're telling yourself, visualize and actually see what you're dreaming of. Say things with a sense of this is absolutely completely true. And it's true because it's my truth in the reality that I'm creating for the best and most benevolent future for myself and others, right? That is one of the most important things I can say. And yeah, um, so the reason all of this is important is when you get into studying the laws of attraction, it's really about reprogramming yourself. And you'll know it because there's sensations that you're going to feel like all of the sudden things you used to do out of habit will start to feel off and unlike you. And that's the fundamental shift that changes the algorithm within the human computer that needs reprogrammed because somebody else did the programming to get us to create the reality that they want. And that's not why we're here. And Joy Child said something, and I have a problem with the term and the phrase that Earth is a school. And this is my own personal opinion, and I'm not crapping on anybody else's belief, but I didn't come here for school. I came here to have the most benevolent biological human experience I possibly can to bring joy into this reality. I didn't come for detention. I didn't come for class. And if this was originally a learning experience, which it may very well have been, and our souls crave that, I truly do believe that that system, that school, has been corrupted, overtaken, and none of us signed up for that. That shit with you chose to be here. Yeah, I chose to be here, but I didn't choose to play a fixed game, and I didn't choose to be in a corrupt system. I chose to come here, spread love and joy and peace, and enjoy this reality, not be a fucking slave, not go to school for anybody, and not be beaten down and browbeat into submission to be somebody else's bitch. That's why I have a problem with that phrase. I understand that there is a lot of things to learn in this reality, but a lot of it, I don't accept the fact that we're just here to learn and take our lessons, because some of the lessons I've learned in this life have been absolutely horrific. And I don't think I came here for that. I came here and it's been corrupted. That's my take on the whole school thing. I won't argue with anybody about it. You guys are all welcome to your own opinions, and I love each and every one of you for having your own thoughts, because comparing notes is how we get anywhere. But that you chose this thing, some of us that have had truly horrific lives did not choose to be manipulated by an overlay construct and severely abused. And that's a personal trauma trigger that I'm dealing with. So, like I said, I'm doing this show because I want to help everybody, including myself. Joy Child, the the triad is energy, frequency, and vibration. Thank you. Fortunately, with the consciousness levels rising, those lower energies are coming through. They're valid points you've made. Gives me food for thought. Thank you, Joy Child. And like I said, I'm not trying to argue with anybody, because sometimes it really does feel like we're here to learn stuff. But I think that this school has been taken over by a very freaking evil masters. And what's being done to us now is torture and abuse. And I don't think that's why we're here, because I've met some very angelic and benevolent and divinely gifted people, and I doubt they came here to get the shit kicked out of them. That's just me. But back to the trauma. It blocks inspired action as well. Laws of attraction emphasize acting on intuitive nudges using gnosis, intuition. But trauma induced hypervigilance or even going numb might make you ignore or fear these feelings, right? I still guilty of it myself. I should absolutely trust myself way more than I do. This might cause you to procrastinate or overanalyze, missing the universe's opportunities. Like, for example, trauma from criticism could make you avoid networking for a dream job, even though the intuition urges you towards it, leading to the stagnation instead of attraction, right? If you're, you've gotten rejected and you're just like, no, I can't, that person's going to think I'm stupid. I can't reach out to like an author like Joy Child. I've only ever met her once. Like, why would she ever like want to sit and shoot the shit with me? Because like, I'm just an idiot. I'm a grade 10 dropout. Why the fuck would I do that? Well, here's the thing. I met her one time. We've talked multiple times, and now we're very close friends. So stop listening to the voice that tells you you're not good enough. Stop listening to the voice that tells you you can't do it. Stop listening to the voice that tells you you're going to fail, because all of those are other people's voices, because you don't talk to you like that. At least you shouldn't. And if you do, somebody else has taught you to talk to you like that. And you need to teach yourself to not speak to you like that, because you are fucking awesome. And people do love you. People do want to work with you. People do want to hear what you say. Right. And I can prove this because I said, Spinjo loves throwing this in my face in a very loving way. I said, if one person watches my show, I'll keep doing it because I'm helping somebody. And there's times when I get frustrated and upset and sad and I don't want to do this anymore. She's like, well, I'm going to listen. There's one person. And it's like, yeah, I know what I said. So it's that little bit of motivation. And you can find that motivation in anything, even if it's a little bit of healthy self-talk. So trauma also impedes gratitude and presence. But before I get into that, Joy Child had a comment again. Oh, thank you. I'm not going to read that on the air because I actually just kind of blushed. Trauma impedes gratitude and presence. Gratitude raises your vibration. Or, sorry, I said that wrong. Trauma impedes gratitude and presence. Gratitude raises your vibration, but trauma keeps you hyper focused on threats or lacks, right? I am still going through this, okay? Hypertension, hypervigilance, constantly trying to see where the world's going to hurt me next because something's going to fuck me. I am still dealing with that one. And this isn't a poor me segment of the show. I have been self-sufficient since I was 15 years old. And that came from being from a very, very broken home with parents. I had a stepdad who was an absolute angel. We literally prayed for him, and he showed up and saved my mother from a man who almost killed me and my mother. But they were living their best life while we were having childhoods that weren't really included in that best life. And my biological father was, well, a fucking monster. So by the time I hit 15 years old, I had developed enough self-worth that I just left. And since I was 15 years old, I have had to be in fight or flight my entire life. At 48 years old, I shouldn't have this much gray hair and this much beard. As much as Kyla loves the salt and pepper, this is stress induced. And honestly, you need to change the way you speak to yourself. And, don't stay in that fight or flight thing because it's really not worth it. You have to figure out a way to get comfortable in being confident in your own existence. Because yeah, when I was 15 years old, and I know I trailed off here, I know when I was 15 years old, I had enough self-worth to go do it on my own and enough self-confidence. I was terrified of everything. I'm not going to lie. I was terrified of every stranger I met. I was terrified of every person that was going to screw me over, rob me, or steal from me. And honestly, it's taken me 30 years to get to the point where I'm ready to not be in fight or flight anymore. And it's a huge process. So it really is something to get through. So gratitude raises vibration, but trauma keeps you hyper-focused on threats or lacks, making it hard to appreciate the now. The scarcity mindset signals more pleas to the negatives. So that's basically what I was saying at the beginning of the show. If you keep saying, this sucks, it's going to keep sucking, right? I don't, if you look at it, I've been through a divorce, right? Post-divorce trauma might make you overlook might make you overlook small joys, fixating on loneliness, thus attracting more isolation rather than new connections, right? This is true. Like you just feel so withdrawn, and you just, you, when you go through a breakup like that, you get to, and it doesn't have to be a marriage, but like when you go through a long-term breakup, it's hard to trust people again, right? And when you get to the point where you can just be like, I'm grateful for surviving, that's a step in the right direction. Another thing with trauma is it creates energetic leaks in our field, right? In your energy, psychologically, trauma fragments your aura or your biofield, um, leaking vitality or allowing mismatched energies in, right? The laws of attraction can't flow fully through a leaky vessel, right? It's kind of like holes in the dam or holes in your boat, right? Um, for example, if you have sexual trauma, it might create boundary issues. You know, like I, you could become a person who is of very loose morals, or you could go the complete opposite way and become completely like, don't touch me, like just completely reclusive to physical contact, because you know sometimes you get psychologically damaged on that traumatic level, that it's something, it takes years and years to be able to get to the point of, you know, pulling that out, um and actually being able to stop this. uh so but yeah, so that might be depleting your energy for your manifestations. um Also, this is where it gets even more personal. Trauma affects physical health indirectly, blocking laws of attraction, chronic trauma, stress, elevated cortisol, which is a huge thing. All of this shit ups your cortisol level. And if you guys haven't looked into your cortisol levels, you probably should, because it's really not a good thing for you. But where did I just lose my place again? Manifest physically, elevated cortisol levels. So it causes blocks for that, lowering overall vibration and focus needed for the laws of attraction. Here's the example. Unresolved grief could lead to fatigue, making your daily visualizations impossible, right? Because if you're tired, how hard is it to use your imagination? Because, like, you're really just blah all the time and you can't focus, you can't think. It's like brain fog. And that's related to cortisol and stress as well, right? So that makes your attractions, it's less likely that they're going to come to fruition. It will likely stall them, and you'll have a lack of your vitality and success, right? Um, oh. Healing trauma unblocks and amplifies the laws of attraction, while trauma blocks addressing it through therapy, shadow work, or holistic method clears the path, allowing pure alignment. Healed individuals often report rapid manifestations as their vibration soars. Um, Example: after healing betrayal trauma, someone might effortlessly attract trustworthy partners as their energy now matches the security that they were seeking, right? Um, Healing isn't an overnight process, but consistent work transforms blocks into boosters. If trauma feels overwhelming, seek professional help, right? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be professional. Sometimes it's just somebody else to talk to that gets it, or can even just try to offer an opinion, right? The laws of attraction thrive alongside real emotional integration, right? So Understand the core principle. The law of attraction is based on the idea that your dominant thoughts, feelings, and beliefs emit vibrational frequencies that attract matching experiences, people, and opportunities into your life. This is where I love this part because it is rooted in quantum physics, quantum physics concepts like energy field and resonance, where positive thoughts align with positive outcomes and negative ones do the opposite. It's not about wishful thinking, but consciously directing your mental energy. For instance, if you constantly focus on debt, you may attract more financial. This goes back into the suck thing, right? So, the second thing you should do is clarify your desires. To manifest effectively, your intentions must be crystal clear and align with your true values. I always screw this word. Ambiguity confuses the universe. So basically, don't be kind of half-assed with what you're asking for. Now, this brings me to a point where I'm going to pause here, and it's not actually in my notes. It's just something that Spinja and I were talking about. And one of the things that I've realized during this whole process is, yes, you absolutely should try to be in a positive mindset. You should try to manifest your best reality. But one of the things that you're working with is a part of your mind that most of us don't have any actual physiological control over. And that's your subconscious, because your subconscious is directly attached to your somatic system, which is attached to the photonic projection that I was talking about earlier. Here's the thing. Your subconscious knows when you're full of shit. So if you're sitting there on welfare or food stamps or whatever and going, I am abundant, your subconscious is going to go, bullshit, we're poor. And you can't lie to yourself, right? But what you can do is start small. Start with gratitude, like I was talking about earlier, right? Start by finding, even if you're in the lowest spot you can be. And I've used this example on the show before. Spinge and I were having a terrible time financially. Things weren't balancing out. It was just, it was right on the edge. We weren't screwed, but it was getting there. And we were having a conversation the one day, and I just went, I was like, at least the truck tires aren't flat, because our tires are like $400 each on the truck. And it was literally that one ray of hope, that one positive thing, that one thing to grab onto that started to lift us out. She grabbed onto it. The tires aren't flat on that very expensive truck, and we can still go to work, and we can still pay our bills, and there's food in the cupboard, and there's this, and you know what? The heat's on, and the lights are on, and our cell phones, the bills are paid, and all of a sudden we discovered we were doing fucking awesome. And that's what you need to do with yourself, even just from a small step. You can't tell yourself something that isn't real, because you won't believe it, because you know it's full of shit, because you're the one telling the lie. But start small and lift yourself up. Joy Child says, I completely understand. That took me at least 15 years after my divorce to become me again. Yeah, that divorce is a kick in the head. So, to manifest effectively, I said that ambiguity confuses the universe. So, break down big goals into specifics, like what, why, when, and how it feels. Example, instead of I want a better job, specify I want a remote marketing role paying $80,000 a year annually, allowing work-life balance starting within 6 months. I feel excited and valued. And that's your mantra. That's the thing that you want to get into, right? And that leads you into visualizing your goals. Oh, hold on. I just seen that Michelle posted something here. You can only attract that which you resonate at. Great work by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Gabriel Mate, and Dr. I'm going to have to, I've heard of Joe Dispenza, but I'm going to have to look into the other two. So visualize your goals. Visualizing your goals leverages the brain's reticular activation system, or the RAS, to filter reality towards your focus, making your goals feel more attainable. Make it immersive, not just seeing, but embodying the experience. And this is something I do hear quite often. Start living your life like you're already there. Okay. We want a homestead in somewhere in rural Alberta. Well, one of the things we're going to need is a reliable pickup truck. We have that. So we've started. You know, one of the things when we're in rural Alberta, we're going to need to do is be very self-sufficient with our food. Spinja has really kicked into the baking. And, that's going to be beneficial when we're on a homestead and not able to go to the Costco once a week. We don't go to Costco, just using as an example. I can't do big box stores. No, thank you. And Michelle is absolutely, you must believe you are correct, ma'am. So, one of the things you can do, and this is one of the exercises I'm actually going to talk about, is dedicate 10 minutes twice daily to guided visualizations, right? And where you find that, you can even make your own, right? There are 1.5 million, well, not literally 1.5 million. You can use AI programs like Sono. You can find them online. You can buy audiobooks. You can buy them on CD, I believe. But do visualization exercises, preferably guided, and then track the synchronicities, right? Like, say you're visualizing traveling to the Bahamas, and then you go to work, and on the side of the bus, there's an advertisement for a trip to the Bahamas. That's the universe giving you one of these. See you. It's coming, right? And Kyla, we haven't been to Costco since we came to 4 years ago. Yeah, we haven't. Fuck Costco. Sorry if we have any Costco lovers, but one of the other things, use positive affirmations. Use positive affirmations. Affirmations rewire neural pathways via neuroplasticity, countering self-doubt with empowering beliefs. This is definitely, and you don't need a book on how to write an affirmation or a course on how to write an affirmation. It's self-talk. All an affirmation is something positive that you keep telling yourself, a goal, an idea, a challenge. You're affirming it in your own mind and in your future reality that this is what you're going to do. You are telling future you, this is what we're doing, right? Oh, Joey Child has something on affirmations. Hold on. Affirmations that come from the heart is the strongest energy you can have. Yes, absolutely, because you are creating from your authentic self, right? Everybody can say, I want $1 million. Well, who freaking doesn't, right? Because it would make life so much more easy. But when you explain in your affirmation the specifics of why you need that $1 million and the good that you're going to project out into this reality, might be more willing to speed up the process for you. But they must be believable and emotionally charged, like Joy Child was just saying, coming from the heart. Repetition without feeling is ineffective. Like, it's like the teenager that says, "Yeah, I'll clean my room. Yeah, I'll clean my room." You know they're not going to clean the room. You know you're not going to drive hard and go get that job, because if you don't believe it, why would the universe? Right? We're a part of the universe. We're lying to ourselves when we try that shit. It's not going to work, right? So cultivate the right emotions. Emotions are a magnetic force in attraction. High vibration ones like love and joy pull in positive faster. It's about being the energy now, not waiting, like, oh, well, I'm going to do that next time. No, you have to be in the energy that you want to create right now, right? You have to try to hold that frequency, right? And this goes into another point that we were talking about yesterday. Like, remembering a truly joyful emotion is one of the key things to any of this. It really does pull in what you're trying to experience. And I think when you can hold that frequency, love you, Spinja, or that vibration, it helps you stay in that frequency of love and authenticity, because those are the two highest places to create from. When you're creating from love or your true authentic self, you will see these things happen much, much faster for you. It's not what you want, it's what your soul truly needs that will be created the quickest. Take inspired action. Action bridges thought and reality. It's not forced effort, but intuitive steps that feel exciting, right? The universe provides nudges. Just follow them without overthinking it, right? Like, oh, the universe is telling me to do this. But if you sit there and try, the universe doesn't need an explanation. Let's just put it that way. If you are feeling drawn to do something, it's probably the direction you're supposed to be going. If you're having a very, very hard time in your life, it's probably because you're trying to swim upstream, right? Because this reality is a plane, a stream, a lake, whatever the hell you want to call it. You can't fight the current, right? And if you do, it's very, very difficult, because I don't know if you've ever actually tried to swim up a stream, but salmon are insane because I can't swim up a stream. It's very, very difficult, right? When you're going against the current, things are going to be more difficult. That's the best way I can explain that. Um, Release resistance and doubt. Resistance stems from subconscious fears and past traumas blocking flows. Um, Techniques like EFT, emotional frequency techniques, or therapy help dissolve it. Um, Example, if doubting wealth due to poor upbringing acknowledges, or if you're doubting wealth due to poor upbringing, acknowledge the belief, then affirm its opposite while visualizing success stories like, you're going to, like us, we keep saying we're going to have a homestead. For somebody who grew up on a mom on the social service system for a while, that seems like an impossibility. From somebody who used to tell themselves, I've always been poor, that was an impossibility. Now that I've shifted my belief system and my ability to work within this reality and with the universe, it's coming ever closer, and it's pretty much imminent at this point. So it really is, what you're projecting is what you're going to pull in. Um, Practice daily gratitude. Gratitude shifts from scarcity to abundance mindset, proven by studies that it also boosts well-being and attracts more. Like, it's really all about what you're thinking and what you're doing to yourself and what you're putting out there. I know I feel like I'm doing this at nauseum. Oh, there's Joy Child again. The universe does not judge. It gives you exactly what you want. Exactly. And it also gives you what you ask for. So stop saying this sucks. um, and my thing just reset. Oh dear. Give me a minute. Oop. Surround yourself with positivity. Your environment mirrors your inner world. Toxic inputs lower vibration. If you're living or hanging out with people that are not good for you energetically, I'm not going to say anything about anybody, but if you're hanging out with people that are a lower resonance than where you want to be, or you're partaking in lifestyle choices that aren't of the correct energetic projection, your life is going to be very, very difficult, and your ability to work within the laws of attraction is going to be almost impossible. Not completely, but almost. Now, Spinja has brought up several times how when she was in one of the worst times of her life, she was able to pull in some pretty amazing shit. And this is something I wanted to address as well, because this does happen. And how this happens is when you have somebody that lives from their purest self, like my wife does. And I'm not saying she's fucking perfect, but she does try to live her life from a very, very authentic place. And from anything that I've heard from her friends, or her family, always has. Even when you are in a terrible situation, if you still have love, truth, goodness, and authenticity in your heart, you can pull off some fucking miracles, and you will. And those miracles, you grab them and you ride it all the way out of that shit show. And you will, because she did, and you can. Most of all, be patient and be present. Manifestation unfolds in divine timing. Impatience creates resistance. Oh, this one ground my gears. I just want it now. I want it now. Give it to me now. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter if you want it now. You get it when it's time. And you have to be patient. And you have to be calm. And you have to lovingly accept the bumps that come with it, because you know that your authentic, true reality is coming. And the reason I think any of this is important is because I think we all have a truly perfect timeline, and it's individualized. Uh, that describes old energy to a T. LOL. My old energy. Yeah, I'm here to fuck shit up. Yes, it absolutely does. Um, but no, you really do have to be able to guide yourself to your optimal timeline, right? There's no machine. It's not a DeLorean. It's not a magic watch. It's about where you choose to vibrate to. And I know that sounds insane, but this is a biomolecular reality created with sentient atoms that respond to frequency, energy, and vibration. And we are the ones who project that frequency, energy, and vibration and create the reality around us, ourselves, everyone else. Now, we do affect each other to a certain extent, but unless somebody's completely in your face and abrasive, how much do they really affect your reality, and does it really matter? Unless it's a terrible situation of abuse, neglect, or something terrible. I'm not an asshole, but just follow with me. You create this and you can create a better one. I strongly suggest that anybody who listens to this looks further into the laws of attraction and finds their own route to get their own happiest timeline, their most authentic points of creation, and the best place that they can bring themselves to have the most benevolent life, because that is why we're here. It's not for something shiny. It's not for a fat bank account. It's not for a big house. It's not for a new car. It's to have the best experience that will make us the happiest, and we can take it back to wherever it is that our consciousness comes from. Oh, hold on. Haha, you get it when and if you're ready. Yes, absolutely. Haha, you get it when and if you're ready and destined. That is absolutely true, Michelle. And on that note, I've been going on about this for about an hour, and unfortunately, my guest did show up about 20 minutes ago, and I haven't had a chance to respond. We're going to try to reschedule that. There's been some miscommunication on the time, but you guys were waiting in the audience, and I wasn't going to make you wait, and I had some important shit to say, so this worked out the way it worked out. So, like I always say, oh wait, before I go, Joy Child, Ben, spaghetti dinner tomorrow. I will see you guys there. Anyway, like I was saying, like I always say, if you can, please do go outside because it's a lot better than sitting in front of this screen. And I love you guys.